So I've kind of been debating for a while whether to make this video or not. Not quite sure how it would be received. But I did want to kind of tell my story about how I met Jim Capoot. Um, Let me take you back to 2003. I was doing security at a place called Marina Vista Apartments in Vallejo. My partner and I were out doing a foot patrol of the property, and we came across a car. It was a green car, Ford Taurus actually. Anyways, the guy in the car was making kind of like a little chopping motion, and so we automatically knew that there must have been drugs involved. And as soon as we got up to the window, sure enough, he was, as they say in the ghetto, chopping the line. So we asked him where he lived. He voluntarily got out of the car during the discussion. Once we established that he did not belong there, we placed him in handcuffs. We arrested him for trespassing. And so we called the police. And given that we were in the back of the property, it would have involved the police coming through the back gate and up the alley. So we had the guy secured between two cars in a little carport, and there was like a pillar, so I mean, perfect circumstance. So I went out in the alley while my partner covered the guy, and while I was waiting for the police to arrive, my partner, for some reason, I'm not going to judge, but for some reason brought the guy out into the open and had him sit against the wall. And all of a sudden I just heard a BAM! And I looked back, and this guy had actually slammed himself against, it was like a garage door. And he slammed himself back and got into an upright position and started taking off across the property. My partner, just to add a little bit of humor to this, looks over at me just calmly as can be and goes, "He ran." Anyways, we started running across the property towards him. At the time, I was probably about good 280, 290 pounds. Not in the best of shape. As we went across the property, the guy made it into the other car parking area. He jumped on top of a car, still in handcuffs, mind you, and hurled himself over a spike fence. His pants got caught, and in order of succession, he landed on his chin, chest, groin, knees, and then feet. So we quickly opened the vehicle gate and got out to him. I called the police, and at that time, I was almost in, I won't say a panic, not a panic, a asthma attack. I couldn't breathe that well. The dispatcher showed a lot of concern for me, wanted to roll out medic and all that, but I declined. And about that time, I noticed that a police car was about to fly by. I quickly went out, and it was still light out, but I went ahead and used my flashlight and got his attention. Flipped around and came into the car parking area over on Marin Street. And the officer that exited the car was Jim Capoot. And he looked at me and he goes, "You didn't say the suspect was combative," as he went to go see how the suspect was doing. And I couldn't resist. I said, "Well, he wasn't until he ran." And I'll never forget, Jim just looked back and smiled and just started laughing. So once we got the suspect in the police car, we went back to the guy's car up the back alley, and Jim just kept coming over and he asked how I was doing, which was absolutely awesome. Most of the other officers, they were coming by letting us know what was going on, but Jim showed a lot of concern, and I really appreciated that. And so as we were finding out more, the car was stolen. There was police issued tear gas in the car, stolen merchandise, etc., etc. He came over and he told me, he goes, "This is pretty big." He says, "You guys did a hell of a job. This is big." So it was great at the end. He shook my hand and my partner's hand, told us we did a good job, and that was the best interaction I ever had with Jim. I had the privilege of interacting with him at least a few other times doing security, whether he was responding to help us clear an apartment that was found open, or some other part of Vallejo that I was working doing something. And he always had tidbits of advice for me. He definitely told me that I shouldn't stay in security for very long, and he was right. And I won't say that I regretted my time, but it's time to move on to something else. And I know that um, Jim's advice is the reason I'm going to do that. And so I just want to share that with all of you, that Jim had a big impact on my life doing security, and he's a good guy, and he raised three hell of a good daughters, and God bless his daughters, his wife, and all his family and friends. Take care.